All right, and we are live on YouTube to the public. Thank you everyone for joining. It's going to be a very interesting broadcast. We'll see how everything works out. First of all, premium members, just so you know, we fixed the chat room, so we're back online with that for tomorrow with this ice threat. So this is a chat that we normally have for premium members every Wednesday whenever there's a major storm event. But I figured, let me try to do this for the general public and set this up. And the reason why is because I want to go over a couple things, not only with this ice threat, but also the pattern overall. And then, of course, I'll take your questions as well as we go through the analysis. And so, first of all, welcome. It's nice to see everyone here. I hope everyone's having an outstanding Friday. We're going to get to the maps, but I want to talk to you first about the overall theme here. Premium members know that we got here by the polar vortex getting broken apart. Okay, it was called stratospheric warming, and it basically acted like a sledgehammer that slammed down on the polar vortex and broke it up into several pieces. And that process led to the high latitude blocking that formed, and also the development of this whole pattern. There allowed Arctic air to get down this way. There's a lot of reasons why the polar vortex broke up the way it did. One of them is man-influenced, the lack of sea ice by Siberia. Other aspects is the influence of a quiet sun. So you got to have two combinations. So it's never an all or nothing situation. So there's always that aspect. By the way, the chat for premium members, just so you know, okay, because we're doing all this on YouTube tonight, you have to clear out your cache and all that stuff. I just saw an email about that, so I figured I'd just drop in on that. So the first thing I want to show you before we go into the actual ice storm that we're going to be watching for, and also the winter storms to follow, is I want you to understand the forecasting philosophy. Okay, so I always look at not just what model is trending and all that stuff. All right, that's not the way you do this. You look at the overall environment. What is happening in the overall environment of the atmosphere as a whole? What is the story? And from December to, I would say, about a week ago, the story was about stratospheric warming and disruption of the polar vortex and developing the high latitude blocking and getting the shortwaves to line up. That story is now done. And what we now have is this story. This is the current observations. This is stratospheric cooling. And when you have this showing up, that means that there is a fundamental shift in the way that the pattern is evolving. And it has a direct influence, a lagged influence, but a direct one, on the atmosphere as a whole. Because that produces this setup. The polar vortex is starting to consolidate. So when this happens, the polar jet stream starts to get pulled northward. Now, it's not a one-to-one ratio in terms of, well, it happened today, therefore tomorrow the polar vortex automatically shifts northward. There's a lag time in terms of this whole evolution. But understanding that this process is happening gives you a better understanding of what is possible in this weather pattern and what is realistic in the model guidance. So if you start to see a trend where your storm tracks are starting to shift more to the northwest, more and more, there's a reason why that's happening. It's because of this. So this is currently as of 12Z, which is at 8 a.m., or 7 a.m., should I say. 8 a.m. when we move the clocks forward again. And this is over the next 10 days. And you see this evolution. The polar vortex at 10 millibars is getting stronger and centered over the Arctic Circle. So this is a sign that your polar and Arctic air masses are going to start to get drawn northward, towards Canada, towards Siberia, and not so much towards the United States. But this is at 10 millibars. What about 50 millibars? Same scenario, same evolution. It's a gradual process. Now, notice the heights here over portions of Asia. This tells us that the cold air mass is leaning towards North America, but starting to lift northward. So again, it's a gradual process. But the reason why I'm showing you this is because I want you to understand the overall theme in the atmosphere. So now that we have the understanding of the overall theme in the atmosphere, now it's time to understand what is happening in terms of the surface. And so I bring you our surface observations. And the first thing I've noticed in the model guidance is that, hey, the boundary layer is getting colder. 2 days ago, I had temperatures for, let's say, Atlantic City around the mid-40s. Then I have, just for Cape May, 40 degrees this morning. Now, everyone's in the mid-30s on the coastal plain. So this tells me that the model guidance is trying to play catch-up to the actual cold air mass in place. And what can we see from our cold air mass? Well, let me zoom out a little bit. And what I want to show you is not so much the temperatures. Obviously, the temperatures are cold. But this stands out to me. The dew points. Now, I've been saying this for quite some time. It is the dew points that stand out to me in this situation. Not the surface temperatures. And the reason why is because we're dealing with very dry, dense air. This cold air is going to put up a fight. So when this moisture starts streaming in, which we could start to see on our radar, see it's starting to develop, but you can see it even better on the water vapor satellite picture. Of course, it's not loading right now. Why would it? Let's refresh it. There we go. Okay. Now this is pretty impressive. This is called the water vapor satellite picture. I loved using this, and credit Jim Cantori from the Weather Channel, who introduced me to this when I was like 10, and I would religiously and annoy the heck out of my parents watching the Weather Channel like 24/7. And I'd wait for Jim to show up on TV to use this satellite picture. And ever since then, it's been a go-to tool. And the reason why is because you could see the whole atmosphere set up. You could see the southeast ridge, you could see the subtropical jet stream, and you could see the polar jet stream and how they're interacting. Now, all this moisture is our storm for tomorrow through Sunday morning. Meanwhile, this right here is our storm setup for the storm on Tuesday. So that factor. 1 second. Or at YouTube. That factor is why we are seeing what we're seeing in this whole evolution here of this storm. So, sorry, I got distracted for a second there. Repeated emails. The overall theme that I'm seeing here is that we have a pretty impressive cold air mass locked in, plenty of moisture surging northward, and the model guidance, like the NAM model guidance here from 18Z, is trying to play catch up to that evolution. Notice we're not seeing as much rain in this scenario setting up now. In fact, let's go to a previous run. Let's go, that's 18Z. Let's go 18Z yesterday. What was it showing? 24 hours ago. For this time period. More rain. Look at that. Now, since then, every successive model data, every successful model run of the NAM guidance has started to pick up on the intensity and strength of this polar and Arctic air mass. And so as a result, while it is starting to pick up on that data, it's reducing the influence of that dry air. Of that warm air. So you're ending up with, in general, a cold environment for our first wave. So, with that being the case, when I developed this forecast, which is this one right here, notice I cut down zone 1, still including freezing rain, but basically right on the immediate coast, like basically the beach. And everyone else I expanded for zone 2, which has some still pretty significant ice. The sound is bad. Let me see if I can fix that. Default. Can you guys can't hear me? Okay, hold it 1 second. Let me see if I can fix that. Should be okay. All right. Well, I'll try to work on the mic in the future, but it should be okay. Where was I? Okay, so the storm evolution that I'm seeing here is such that I think that the first wave here is going to produce a pretty significant ice threat for tomorrow afternoon on through Sunday morning. And then the question is the next storm. Oh, he said the weather sounds good. Okay. I thought it was the mic. I'm going insane. What can I say? Okay, so then that takes us to the next storm. Now remember what I said about the overall pattern overall. The polar and Arctic air masses are starting to shift northward, right? Because the polar vortex is consolidating. The best way to think about this polar vortex situation is, let's say right now you have an ice skater who has a concussion and is drunk. So their arms are all over the place, the skates flying one way, the flowers in the hands going in another. It's just a mess. Then the ice skater gets over the concussion, sobers up, and starts spinning faster and starts tightening up, right? When that ice skater tightens up, their arms go closed and they start to spin faster and faster. No, there's no one waiting outside my house. It's just the lights. Oh no, that's actually some of the. I have a video up just of a fireplace, right there, and also I have Godzilla and all the other stuff back there. So yeah, it's just I'm on the second floor. If someone's trying to get in, that'd be funny. Anyway, let's see here. Okay, weird. That's a weird comment. All right. Anyway, I apologize. I'm kind of getting used to this whole YouTube thing, so I'm not used to weird comments. I guess it's part of going public. So we'll get out of that. So the overall theme here that I'm trying to explain is that the shift in the pattern, or what we're seeing here in the model data, shouldn't be too surprising. This is a 500 millibar PVA, right? So this is how you track your storms. Now notice your polar vortex in the troposphere is starting to lose some of its shape and organization. These short waves are coming in further and further north until we get to a point where we almost have a near zonal pattern by the end of the month. So what does that do to 850 millibar temperatures? Well, let's take a look. It's causing the 850 millibar temperatures to gradually retreat. Notice we no longer have our purple dinosaur hanging around the the United States. We now see a clear moderation in the air mass. So this whole storm evolution is all about the whole Arctic air mass over the eastern United States moderating. And so as a result, that is how you end up with what we're seeing on the European and also the GFS guidance, which is a warmer solution with each model run. Now, here's the trick with this whole pattern. And I'm going to show you storm impact number 2. This is for Monday into Tuesday. This is for premium members, but I'm showing you everyone it right now. The idea here in this situation is not just to look at the model guidance and say, hey, look, the model guidance is doing this, GFS is doing this, European is doing that, so which model are you going with? You use both of them. You use all of the data. So, and someone asked about ice totals. We're going to go over that in a moment. So in the forecast for the Tuesday into Wednesday event, Monday into Tuesday event, is that you end up with your deepest cold air off towards the interior. And this one, let's see here. Actually, I'm sorry. A second. Open map. There we go. This is the one I wanted. Here we go. This is the one I wanted for our storm impact for Monday to Tuesday. Far northern interior, more likely to get that 4 to 8 inches. Now, this is all snow, maybe mixed with a little bit of sleet from Monday into Tuesday. But this area right here, for Monday into Tuesday, is all ice. But notice I did this funky thing right here, right? This is because of the natural topography of the region and what I've seen in the past with these ice events, where cold air kind of gets stuck in like a bowl right around Monmouth County that bleeds into Burlington County and around the suburbs of Philadelphia. So the European doesn't really catch it all that well, but the GFS overplays it. So what I did is I took a mix of the two, took what I understood about the history, and produced this forecast, where the immediate coast is again snow to rain. The interior, slightly into the interior, basically around the I-95 corridor, is a wintry mix to rain with around a trace of snow, a trace of ice to maybe 1/10 of an inch of ice. And then to the north and west of the I-95 corridor, that's where you get your real ice threat, 1 to 4 inches of snow, 1/10 to 1/4 of an inch of ice. Pretty nasty situation. And then the far northern interior, Catskills, the Poconos, that's where you get your 4 to 8 inch snowfall total. So that's Monday into Tuesday. And this is for tomorrow through Sunday morning, ending around 1 p.m. Sunday for everyone. And again, zone 4, I reduced the snowfall because the lack of moisture back here, which, let me show you this. This is how I came to that. There you go, precipitable water values. So what I did for the snowfall totals is I took a look of how far into the interior this moisture got. And as you can see here, it didn't get all that far into the interior until we got to Monday into Tuesday. That's when you could support a heavier snowfall over the interior. So when you use this, this tells you how much moisture is available. And then you combine that with these temperatures. In fact, here, let me zoom in. And then you get a pretty good idea of what you're dealing with in terms of potential for snowfall. Notice the interior remains below freezing. So this is your best potential for snowfall. Then notice that warm air transport pushes further north. And so that's where you get your best potential 4 to 8 inches, because that's where your thermal gradient is set up. So that is how you basically come to this forecast. So what I'm going to do now, I explained the forecast. I'm going to go through some of these questions, and we're going to walk them through. And wow, over 100 people. That's pretty awesome. Thank you all for joining. Let's see here. So we're going to start off. I'm going to work my way down and answer your questions. And hopefully we will smoke this on through. Okay, no issues. Here, fine. Blah, blah, blah. Something. There are weird people on the internet, but I guess I should know that already. He's a troll. He's a troll. Oh, that explains it. So ice totals, Donna. Okay, for the first storm. Now this is again for basically late tomorrow morning on through 1 p.m. Sunday. I'm looking at for zone 4 up here, light snow, maybe a little sleet, trace to 2 inches. And this is all because you can't get moisture further northward. Zone 3, which is like Allentown, basically the northern suburbs of Philadelphia, North Philadelphia, northeastern New Jersey, well, pretty much all northern New Jersey, southern Hudson River Valley. That area, you're looking at snow to sleet to freezing rain. This area is going to have a serious ice problem here because temperatures never get above freezing. In fact, let me show you that. Let's see here. We'll use the NAM guidance because I think that would be a pretty good. The NAM guidance you want to use because it's a mesoscale model. It's going to handle the boundary layer temperatures the best. So let's go to Saturday night to Sunday. Now look at these temperatures here. This is cold. This is 22 degrees and freezing rain. That's not good. Okay? It's not like we're dealing with like 32, 34 degrees and it's freezing rain. This is all supportive of frozen precipitation. And that remains the case for almost the entire forecast period, except for literally on the coast. So basically, for tomorrow night, everyone could expect ice in this environment. Now again, you don't just use one model. This is the NAM model you use to get your boundary layer temperatures. But you don't use it for, let's say, 500 millibar PVA. That's a synoptic question. So that is where you use the GFS or the European. And in that scenario, that lifting is weak. In the mesoscale lifting, or frontogenesis, it's still relatively weak aside from the immediate coast. And the amount of moisture available is still limited. So this is not a widespread heavy precipitation event. So then in zone 2, I expanded this because I saw those boundary layer temperatures. And that's where you go snow to sleet to freezing rain. Eventually you mix over with a little bit of rain at the end of this. So again, about 0.05 to 1/10 of an inch of freezing rain, which is still a serious problem. So it's not looking pretty at all. Let's see here. I hear ice totals for a whole region. Ice is very concerning. Indeed, it is. Right, more parents complaining about virtual day being called Tuesday. Oh yeah, that's true. I guess they. Wait a minute. You're telling me they still have snow days for school? Thanks for the insight. Very helpful. I think no problem. You do more non-member ones. Actually, it's kind of an idea that I might incorporate a little bit more, maybe once a month. We'll see. Will the ice be crippling? It will certainly be dangerous. I'm not sure. There's probably going to be the threat for power outages, especially for like northern New Jersey. Okay, your interior, anywhere in Zone 3, I think is going to have a serious issue with the potential for some significant icing. Steve, Morristown, New Jersey, ice or freezing rain? Both. Both. You have sleet and freezing rain mixed in. Now, what's interesting is that at 925 millibar temperatures, depending on which model you use, some of the guys are suggesting a little bit colder environment at 925 millibars, which would lead to more sleet. I think that is because some model guidance is supporting stronger lifting in the atmosphere, and so that's why you're seeing that cooling. But basically, sleet and freezing rain for everybody. You're going to see both. Think some areas in New Jersey will get an ice storm warning? I don't know. I probably would have at least issued I probably would have done more than an advisory considering the situation, but it is what it is. Let's see here. You see any adjustments southeast over time for that Tuesday storm? Maybe the big heights to the north can push further north. Actually, you know what? Here, rather than read it, look at that. I've never done that before. I just tested it. So what the heck, right? Let's see. Let me move this. You see any adjustments south and east? Maybe a big high. Okay. I don't see a snowier solution because of the state of the 850 millibar temperatures. You're going to have to really have a massive adjustment to turn it into a colder storm in that respect. Things that could make this storm colder. Well, let's see here. First, we have to look at the environment overall. And this is the European solution. Now, how does it come to this solution? And then, you know what, let's look at the GFS solution. Because I use the European a lot. But I admit it, I do. I trust the guidance a little bit more. But let's take a look at that GFS solution. Okay. Here it is. Admittedly, it's 18Z. Now, how do we get there? Well, let's look at 850 millibar temperatures for that same time period. And let's see here, right here. You see, your 850 millibar temperatures are trying to sneak in while that storm's moving northward. That's never a good thing if you're looking for snow, because cold air also introduces dry air, so you're cutting down the precipitation shield. Unless you have a situation where you have your low pressure system stalled, you have an upper level low over you, but that is not the situation at all. This is a progressive pattern in terms of the subtropical jet stream. So in order to make this a colder system, what you would have to do is fundamentally shift the entire 850 millibar thermal gradient before this storm even gets going on Monday. Which right now, I mean, this is 6 hours out. It'd be a pretty big bust on all the model guidance. And we'll take a look at European guidance on this right here. Let's see here. And we'll pull this up. So this whole situation right here would have to change fundamentally. The southeast ridge would have to be a lot weaker, and this Arctic air would have to be far more aggressive. So what I would say is that instead of looking for snow, what I'm looking for is ice. Okay? Where in the European solution, we have all this rain. What I would be concerned about is that we end up with the GFS solution, which is this. Where you get all this freezing rain and sleet. Now, that is why in the storm forecast for premium members, I'm colder than what the European guidance is suggesting, because I don't trust this low-level cold air. Let me tell you something about Arctic air. Arctic air is a pain in the ass to get rid of. It doesn't want to leave, it puts up a fight, and it causes havoc for forecasters. Every time you think that it's going to get ratted out because, hey, look, another low-pressure system, no, it doesn't. It doesn't want to leave. It's like a bad relative that just never wants to leave home. And you just want to go to bed. But they don't want to leave. They want to talk about their picture collection or some crap like that. So I'm always wary when it comes to getting rid of Arctic air. So that is why I'm going with a colder solution overall in terms of ice. But snow, in terms of 850 millibar temperatures, that ain't happening. Unless you see a fundamental shift in the next two model suites with the 850 millibar temperatures, which would have to be like, let's say, the 500 millibar shortwave rapidly intensifies more than what any guidance is showing, pulls that cold air southward, and bombs out the storm. There's no indication of that, even on the ensemble guidance. Now, Friday, we got a little bit better chance, more leeway, more time to work with. But I'm not seeing it right now. Let's see here. So no chance for all snowfall anymore. Not in this situation. Now, between now and March 15th, I can't rule out a major winter storm producing all snow, but your chances are kind of declining. Let's see here. Jersey Len. Let me see and get this thing out of the way. It seems like the super cold Arctic air from the polar vortex disruption has been locked up over the Midwest region. Why hasn't it made to New Jersey? That is a typical La Nina signature, okay? La Ninas, and again, I'll pull up this data, and I mean, heck, this is perfect right here. This right here is a huge calling card for La Nina. Now, it was an east-based La Nina. It is a weak La Nina. And when you have that, you end up with a ridge that's a bit more displaced. Let me pull up 500 millibars. Okay, so this is the current pattern as it is right now. And you got your disruption, okay? You see this right here, this signature right here? This forces your below normal heights towards the plains. Even in the winter forecast, I said your heart of the Arctic air was going to be in the northern and central plains. If the polar vortex gets disrupted, it's going to go there first and then bleed to the east. And then we get all the winter storms. And that's essentially what's happened. And this is textbook of a La Nina pattern. So when people are saying El Nino, La Nina, what does that mean? It doesn't necessarily mean a warm winter or cold winter, winter storms, no winter storms. It's the nature of the pattern and what type of pattern configurations you can expect. In a La Nina, you're far less likely to see major nor'easters or like low pressure systems redeveloping off the North Carolina coast and shooting up this way. You're more likely to see isotropic lifting events, which is basically what we're seeing now, okay? So when you have your high latitude blocking, it tends to be where you get this nice little upper level low here and your polar vortex somewhere around here, in this case down here, and you get a nice upper level low around the Aleutians. So this sets up your pattern, right? This sets up your high latitude blocking. Textbook for La Nina. The subtropical jet stream under the influence of La Nina gets this southeast ridge. So your best potential for your cold air masses are to drain this way and then this way. So they come in, they drop into the area of the lowest heights, and then shift eastward. So they eventually get to New Jersey, but by the time they get here, they're moderated. So it's not the pure Arctic air. Instead, it's been kind of hanging around Kansas City and Missouri and all those locations. And then it gets to here. And so by the time it does, it's not 2 degrees for a high. Instead, it's 20 degrees for a high. Seems like we haven't had any long-term Arctic blast this winter. No, we won't. La Niñas also typically feature transient cold air masses, okay, which means that they come in and they leave. If you're looking for a sustained cold air mass, you don't want El Nino or La Niña. You want La Nada. In other words, no influence from that region, and you want an influence more from what we call the MJO, the Madden-Julian Oscillation. When that happens, that's when you can get your sustained cold air masses. That's not to say you can't get them, but you're more likely not to in El Niños and La Niñas. That's right, caused by the Southeast Ridge. The last few storms, they called 3 virtual and 2 actual snows. When do temperatures moderate? I'm thinking the end of February, the last week of February, you'll start to see a moderation back into the 40s. And then in March, because of the polar vortex closing up, and take a look at this over the next 10 days. Okay, notice, look where we're starting, where everything's all broken up, and look what happens over the next 10 days. You see that consolidation? Now, when you have this type of consolidation, that pulls all your Arctic air northward. And then, let's take a look at the European ensemble guidance. And this is ensemble guidance kind of gives you a multiple average of all these models coming together. So let's pull that up. Apparently a lot of people are pulling it up because it is loading a little slow, but that's okay. We'll go out to 10 days out. 10 days out, it's basically showing the same idea. It's trying to keep a negative NAO pattern, but it just kind of starts losing it. And you see this right here? This is an influence from a Pacific air mass. So you get Pacific air masses coming in. Watch out for flash flooding in March in this type of scenario. And so what you end up with is a pattern where you kind of get a trough in the subtropical jet stream, more of a zonal pattern in the polar jet stream, and all your Arctic air, the end of February into March, gets all locked up in here. So yeah, I think we're going to be seeing an end to our winter weather pattern by the time we start talking about baseball, I think. I have trouble figuring out where I am on the smaller map when you do the zones for the forecast. Where is Essex County? Essex County is right here, right in this area right here. So you are in zone 3. What about Thursday? Okay. How do I answer this? Okay. Monday into Tuesday, right? I've been hesitant to go into that because I wanted to wait for more data. Kind of the same situation for Thursday and Friday. I want to get the storm for tomorrow out of the way, see what the boundary layer is, see how the model guidance adjusts with that for the Monday-Tuesday storm, and then I can have a better idea of what I'm dealing with the boundary layer for the Thursday-Friday storm. Because in that solution, we're dealing with the same situation here. Snow over the interior, ice north and west of the I-95 corridor, and in this situation, rain along and south of the I-95 corridor. But if my suspicion is correct that the low-level cold air is putting up more of a fight than what the synoptic models are suggesting, and we've seen a colder and colder solution as we get forward, then this solution can't be trusted. This would mean that our colder air mass at the surface, not necessarily at the mid-levels, but at the surface, means more ice than what this would suggest. So that's why I'm a little bit hesitant with going anything beyond the fact that we will have a winter storm Thursday into Friday and then work on the details. Thank you, Damien. I appreciate that. Is there any potential the ice threat in Zone 3 will come further south into North Shore of Long Island? At this time, I do not think so. Zone 3 is a combination of not only the cold air, the cold air that we're going to be dealing with, but also where your best frontal genesis is located and moisture transport. It's kind of the axis of all three. Now, in terms of the ability to stay all frozen precipitation, I definitely can see that happening. But I think your heaviest precipitation is going to be in this ribbon right here. I think you're going to see mesoscale banding over here. Anyway you slice it, 1/10 of an inch of freezing rain is still bad. It's still going to be a slick situation. So I wouldn't, even if you're in zone 2, I wouldn't take that lightly. We already covered Thursday, Friday. I would say watch out for icy solution. Not so much a snowy solution. I don't see that unless we see a fundamental shift. Another shot of tequila probably appropriate. Yeah, probably. Awesome metaphors. Steven, nice. Yep, thank you guys. I appreciate it. Medford, New Jersey is here. That's awesome. Freedom, New Jersey's here. When was the last La Nina? All right, well, let's pull that up, shall we? Now, if you want to find out history about La Nina, you can go to cpc.msep.noaa.gov or just type in La Nina on Google. It'll pop right up. And you go to here, El Nino, La Nina, and let's say you want to look for the history. Let's see, I know it's somewhere. Here we go, historical. Boom. So this gives you all the data from 1950 to now. So let's scroll all the way down. Right here we are, 2020. And the last official La Nina was all the way back in 2017 into 2018. Then you can see other previous ones and where your El Nino's set up. Now, technically, you had an El Nino pattern last winter, but it was very, very weak. Very weak. I'm not sure why they don't have this one highlighted in red. They really should. I mean, technically, in the description, in the definition, this is a very weak El Nino. But this is our La Nina right now. And they haven't updated 2021 because we haven't gotten into a 3-month trifold yet for that. Ice, ice, ice. Indeed. So basically, after March 1st, snow, we are pretty much done for winter in New Jersey. I would say so. I never feel comfortable about saying no more winter storms until after March 15th. But considering what we're seeing in the stratosphere and also tropical forcing, I'd feel pretty confident that I'm going to be able to watch spring training games without having to freak out about dealing with snowfall in early spring with a high sun angle, which, by the way, is no fun. I hate forecasting for that. Good evening, Steven. Good evening. Sorry I'm late. No problem. Hope all the public followers are enjoying the premium guys get on a daily basis. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Not to say that winter is done after March 1st. He's talking about it. Yeah, see, here's the thing. I cannot rule out snowfall in early March. I can't. There's too much historical precedence to at least keep it as a possibility. I am saying the pattern overall becomes more and more unfavorable. Not impossible, but a lot more unfavorable. Biggest snowstorms happen in March. Believe me, I know. We still have snow in most trees here in Somerset County. Impressive. Really appreciate you doing this. I enjoyed doing it. To be honest, sometimes your tweets are hard to follow for us non-meteorologists, and I was nervous your premium subscription would be the same. Now I know you explain. Yeah, see, here's the thing with Twitter. I'm just kind of firing things out that I'm seeing, and I'm just kind of sharing what I'm seeing. And a lot of the times, probably the coolest thing about social media is that I'm actually get a chance to talk to other professional meteorologists and also like people with PhDs and stuff. It's the coolest thing ever that, someone who just has a Bachelor of Science who just said, I was asked by my professors to go into doing graduate school and all that stuff, but I don't want to do research. I don't get me wrong. People that do research are like freaking amazing, but it bores the heck out of me. I could do the work, but it's boring. I like to forecast. So being able to talk to people who are like generated ideas about the polar vortex and how that impacts the climate and all that other stuff, and having a debate with them, going back and forth and bouncing ideas off of them. That's why some of my tweets are very, very sciencey, because I'm kind of bouncing those ideas off and seeing what comes back to me. Looks like I caught up. Let's see here. Let's see. What's the chance the snow line drops towards the coast on Tuesday's storm? Very unlikely at this point. Very unlikely. And it's because of the state. If I look, guys, at 0Z guidance, if we see a much stronger 500 millibar low, let me pull this up. Okay, I want to pull up vertical velocity. And we'll go to here, perfect, Monday night. Okay, so this is what I would want to see in order to get a snowier forecast. First of all, I need to see this trough go a little bit more into a negative tilt, okay? So right about 90 hours out, I want this more of a negative tilt. I want a tilt like this. 2, at Tuesday afternoon, rather than this flat version right here, I want an upper level low to form. Why? Because I need an anchor to pull that cold air south. This right here, this is textbook isotropic lifting. Warm air moving into the region. It is not a situation where you get a storm slow down and blow up and so on and so forth. This right here tells me warm air is pushing northward into an Arctic air mass, and at 850 millibars, that fight has already been lost. So now it's all about the surface, which unfortunately is all about ice. And that's where we're at right now. So what I would need to see is to see an upper level low pop up somewhere around here, and which, by the way, then if that happens, I'd be very suspicious of that solution in the first place, because that would mean I'd probably have some sort of convective feedback error set up, because it's completely foreign to the pattern that we have in place here.
Baby.
Yep.
Do you want coffee?
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, babe. Let's see here. I think I missed. What do you think precipitation will start in the Philadelphia metro? Well, I'll tell you what. I got an idea. Let's just pull up the HRR guidance. This is the latest one. 0Z is the 24-hour one. But let's see what it's trying to do at 18 hours. Okay, so by 12 p.m. tomorrow, it'll start to spit a little bit. But it's not all that impressive yet. Probably around 2 o'clock, you'll start really seeing it start to organize. Here's the 18Z guidance for that same time period. This goes out to 48 hours. And it's loading, and there we go. Yeah, about that. I'd say in the afternoon you'll start to get like a little spit, and then in the evening it starts to really organize. I'll try the NAM guidance here. It might be too far out for it to pick it up properly. This is the 18Z NAM. Let's see what it shows. And it has the precipitation starting to break out around noon. Yeah, I would say based on what I'm seeing here, probably like the afternoon, 3, 4 o'clock, you'll start light with sleet and freezing rain, a little bit of snow mixed in. Again, all of this precipitation is relatively light. And then in the overnight hours, we start to see a heavier precipitation setup. Now, what's interesting is that notice in this model data, it keeps on wavering between a widespread heavy event, and a very light sporadic event. And the reason why you're seeing this wavering back and forth in your mesoscale model guidance is because it's struggling with all of the mesoscale banding. So when you have a situation like this, always go back to your radar and your water vapor satellite picture, because observations lead the way. And whenever you have moisture like this heading towards your neck of the woods, and you start to see radar signatures starting to increase and all that moisture heading northward, that, ladies and gentlemen, is a sign that the model guidance is struggling. And so that's when you start basing your forecast on observations and experience rather than just model data. Let's see here. Forecast is always the best. I'm okay. Okay, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Honestly, I've had a pretty good run this winter. There are other winters where I have not. The key is to always admit when you're wrong. Because if you don't, then you start getting a bad reputation and people don't trust you. And then you start saying winter storm every 5 days. And you get some ridiculous nonsense, or you start throwing meatballs around or some crazy nonsense like that. So I'm doing okay so far. So far. It's like baseball. You start hitting home run after home run, and all of a sudden you get a hitch in your swing and you start striking out. So far I'm doing okay. One second.
Oh, someone else is seeing Godzilla figures.
Cool.
Shut up your Godzilla figures. You're sharing premium members. Should I get my own?
Let's see here. PhDs can be dumb too. Yeah, sure. Some of them can be dumb. That is true. Well, thank you. I appreciate it very much, Michael. This is a very nice comment. Thank you very much. We had snow last year on May 9th. Don't remind me. I did not appreciate that at all. Ugh. Steve, not to get sidetracked, but have you showed your Godzilla figures? Okay, all right. So, I have multiple. I'm a huge Godzilla fan. So I got this one. I got the original, which is down up here. What a mess. I got so many, it'd take forever. I got this. I got the, what is it, the 6 foot with the 3 foot Godzilla over there.
The long tail.
The long tail.
This is a recent one.
Yeah, I got that one right here. This one actually roars. This one I scared my my guinea pig, Norman. And of course, this one my wife found me, Biollante.
Got lucky.
So I couldn't believe when she found this. This one's hard to find. So yeah, I mean, I got a lot, and you can all thank my father for having me watch Godzilla movies. Not having me, but I just kind of got hooked when I was a kid. What's the difference between sleet and freezing rain? Okay. Oh, okay. I'll tell you what. Let's pull up a graphic. Precipitation type. Whoop. There we go. That's what I want. Come here, you. Okay, so let's talk about sleet and freezing rain, snow. Now, this is your cold air, okay? And this is warm air invading. Now, when you have all snow, basically the most or the majority or all of your column of air here is below freezing, okay? Now, in this area, this is where you start to get your wet snow, okay? Where there's a little bit more moisture to it. It's kind of heavy, it's cement. Here is where your warm layer is thick enough so that way the snowflakes melt, but then they refreeze in all this cold air here. So that's sleet. Then you have a very, very thick warm layer, like what we're going to be setting up for tomorrow. And then you have a very shallow area of cold air, which is what we're watching. And that leads to freezing rain. And then finally, a zone with all areas above freezing. That's where your rain. Now, a lot of people talk about grapple. Grapple is kind of in between here. Okay? That's where a snowflake partially melts and then refreezes. Okay? That's what grapple is. So it would probably be right here in this definition. It's kind of in between sleet and snow in terms of the process. And when someone says hail, that's incorrect. That is a completely different process. That's in a thunderstorm where a water droplet keeps on getting blown up to the highest part of the cumulus cloud, picks up ice, falls down, and gets thrown back up into the upper parts of the atmosphere via an updraft. Sleet and hail have no relation whatsoever. Completely different precipitation type. There goes Saturday Night Bowling. Hey, Steve, been following you mostly for winter storms over 10 years. Wow, thank you very much, Mike. One of the first storms was a Boxing Day blizzard. I remember that. That was a fun winter storm. Mostly because all the model guidance was like nowhere near catching it. And all of a sudden, boom, it showed up. But I was watching the water vapor satellite picture, and I was very much saying, something's not right here. Something's going to change. Let's see. Flood weather. Northern New Jersey were big winners this year so far. Yep. Central, South New Jersey, not so much. But Southern New Jersey did get its snow the past couple of days with that 4 to 8 inch snowfall. Well, 4 to 7. But still mostly above average. Maybe next year for a 2-foot storm. I'll tell you what I want to watch out for is if I get a neutral and snow period, no La Nina, no El Nino, I think I got a better shot of that happening. Thanks, honey. Say hi, hon.
Hello.
Hello, that's my wife. Where do you get your bachelor's degree? Bachelor of Science. SUNY Oswego, State University of New York. Do you think they will issue a state of emergency for these upcoming storms? Maybe. Given the way they've reacted to other storms, it's a possibility. Yeah. Rather have sleet than freezing rain, as would I. Actually, I'd rather just have snow or rain and just get out of this sleet and freezing rain nonsense. Thoughts? Northwest New Jersey, 12,000 for... that is definitely a snow sleet changing over to freezing rain type scenario. At that, you actually would have a better chance of going over to all rain, regular rain, plain old rain, than some of your valley locations because of how the cold air gets trapped. So it is almost 8 o'clock, and normally, as you guys know, I normally go an hour. We have fixed the premium chat, by the way, for all you premium members. What you want to do is clear your cache out, okay? And you might want to log out, log in, and then the chat will work. Is it too soon to know what temperatures may be like in April and May? It's a little bit early. Pardon me, coffee. Good coffee. Given what I'm seeing with La Nina and El Nino, and the evolution of the polar vortex, I would expect at the very least near to slightly above normal at this time. But I have a right to change that, depending on what I see. Thoughts on the convective weather this spring? Watch out more for the southern plains than around here. What's very interesting is that the CFS long-range guidance is going La Nina, and keeping La Nina, and all the other guidance is going neutral. So it's a hell of a split. I mean, it's kind of like one's in way off this camp and the other one's way off that camp, and you're kind of in between saying, I don't know. But based on the observations I'm seeing, I think we're going to have a neutral or a cold neutral environment. So the polar jet will be a little bit more active, but I think that your severe weather pattern will be focused from Central Plains to the upper Midwest to the eastern Great Lakes, and then up towards the St. Lawrence River Valley, rather than the northern Mid-Atlantic. At least that's what I'm thinking right now. How does the tornado season look? I would be very worried about like locations like around Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, Illinois, those areas. The Gulf Coast might get interesting too, due to some tropical influences. That's going to be tricky to watch. That is for sure. So it is 8 o'clock, and as you guys know, it's time to shut it down for the night. I want to thank everyone for joining. I really appreciate it. It was really a success. This was a lot of fun, and maybe we'll do it again sometime soon. And now this has been successful. It might not be a bad idea to do this as a winter chat, like a winter forecast chat, seasonal chat type of situation. I mean, heck, people really like that. Do you ever chase? When I was younger, in my 20s, and I was crazy, used to chase tornadoes. And it was a lot of fun, but only do it with a professional, because you can get yourself killed. Okay, guys, that is it for tonight. I will be back tomorrow morning with live chat for premium members, and we'll follow the storm and see how everything evolves. Have a wonderful night, and as always, stay safe out there.